Here's how to make a fire bass house track completely from scratch. Let's start with a basic house drum rhythm. We'll take a 4 on the floor kick, layer it with a ride, add an offbeat open hat, and a clap every other beat. Then let's add a crash and some percussion. I also added a portal automation to fade in a delay at the end of the pattern. Now the drums are done. We can now move on to the bass line, which is obviously essential for a bass house track. For these style of tracks, the bass lines don't move much melodically. Essentially, they stay at the same pitch for the entirety of the loop. You can use pretty much any type of bass sounds you want. Here I've chose a rolling bass preset from Pigments and laid down this simple pattern. I've made sure to leave some gaps to add other basses in for variation. Here's the pattern I used to fill in the gaps, where we've taken this jump pump preset and laid down this pattern. Here's how the bass line now sounds combined with the drums. By the way, I exported the original bass line as a loop, which is here. You'll see I've also chopped the first beat out here and here. For this beat, I'm going to use this bass sound and this stab. Here's how this now sounds all together. Finally, we're going to add a sub bass preset, which copies the same pattern as the bass line and uses a sine wave, which is pitched down significantly, to fill out the sub a little more, as some of the bass presets were lacking in low end. Here's how this now sounds. Also, one quick point, with all of these bass presets, including the sub bass, make sure to add a kickstart so that the sub frequencies don't clash with the kick. Now let's move on to the second half of the hook. We'll keep the drums exactly the same, but this time we're going to add a new bass preset. Here we're using another rolling bass by chopping this into quarter beats. I've taken this mono snap preset from Pigments and laid down a rolling bass pattern where the notes hit on quarter beat intervals, again all playing the G sharp note. Here's how this section now sounds. Now if we move to the mixer, specifically the master channel, we can add an EQ and automate the high pass filter so that this cuts out the low frequencies of the track just before we transition to a new section. Here's how this will sound. For this gap just before the drop, I decided to add in this 808 bass, which is layered with this stab. Now finally, we just need to add in some effects and some vocals. Here I've used these two vocals. I've then taken the first syllable of this by clicking up here and highlighting this section, adding a reverb to the mixer channel, then exporting this and reversing the sound, which will give us this riser effect. And now we have a finished bass house hook. If you want to listen to the full track, I've attached a link to all streaming services in the description. The track is called Shut It Down.